I work late and usually go to grab food at the McDonald's drive-thru before heading home every other day. Over time, I began to recognize the employees and voices on the other side of the window. Like any fast food joint, they got a stoner with a crazy deep voice, a creepy weirdo who mumbles everything he says, as well as the kind of girl who looks a little too cute to be working there. And managing the chaos is the weathered old lady who looks like she's got 8 kids at home. Usually, the place is surprisingly quick and high quality. Recently, though, I started to see some cracks. The first thing I noticed was that the line was moving kind of slow. However, one night as I finally got to the window and was waiting to be handed my food, I saw one of the employees storm out of the building. It was that girl I mentioned earlier, the one who looks too cute for a McDonald's worker. Man, she looked pissed. She slammed her car door and peeled out of there like a crazy person. My first thought was that she had just been fired, yet that wasn't the last time I saw her. In fact, I saw her storm out of the building on multiple occasions after that night. I was afraid to get caught looking at her, like it might give her a reason to come take out all that anger on me, so I did my best to mind my business. Sadly, though, I wasn't able to stay out of it for long. In July this year, on a disgustingly warm and humid night, I once again found myself heading home with nothing waiting for me in the fridge. So I stopped by McDonald's for a quick bite before bed. The line was longer and slower than I had ever seen it, though I didn't have a choice. The whole time I kept wondering what was taking them so long. I figured it had to be employee beef issues like any other workplace, but this seemed serious as hell, because it was clogging up 34 fat asses in line in their beat-up minivans, every single one of their vehicles leaning severely to the driver's side, like their suspensions were about to give out under the sheer weight of the occupants. And I hear you, I know that's mean, but I was in a shitty mood, okay? They were ordering like 12 Big Macs per person, fussing over their sauces and struggling to even reach their bloated arms out of their cars. Meanwhile, I was starving for a measly McCrispy combo, feeling like I'd slipped into some alternate dimension where everybody is formed morbidly obese in the womb. The poor old manager lady sounded like she was at her wit's end with everything that night. And even over all the impatient honking around me, I could hear the workers fighting with each other over the speaker. Finally, when I got to the pickup window, when it was my turn to get the food that I bought and waited for, I was met with a wide open window and seemingly nobody inside the restaurant. I waited for a bit to see if anyone would appear, but nobody came. I heard shouting and even screaming inside, but I had no clue what it was about. When I gave in to yelling at them to come help me like some annoying Karen, I saw the most horrifying sight of my life.
Die, bitch, die! Ah!
Stop! That pissed off girl was stabbing her manager with a knife. I couldn't just sit there and watch, so I jumped out of my car and crawled through the open window. Once I got inside, I tackled and separated them. I wrestled the knife from the girl's hand and pinned her to the floor. She kept trying to worm her way out, and she was so slippery with all the other woman's blood on her that I could barely keep her down. All she wanted to do was kill her manager. When I finally got that psycho restrained, the other workers came to help the manager. And as I started to realize what had just happened, I only had one question. Why? Why would you do this?
Because that bitch is a bully!
What did she even do? How could she deserve this?
She sent me home early!
What? That's it? It turned out what the girl said was true. Her motive was just that simple and meaningless. Getting sent home early, having arguments with your manager, feeling like they're out to get you. That's just what it's like having a boss. I guess some people can't handle even the slightest shred of authority, but of course, time will tell how that bitch handles the power structure of prison, because sadly, the woman she brutally attacked died from her injuries later that night. I thought I'd never be able to return to that McDonald's, but strangely, I can't escape how convenient it is. The McDonald's drive-thru is always there for me late at night when I'm coming home from work, starving. Of course, every time I pull up to that window, something in my brain tells me to prepare for the worst, like I might see someone being stabbed to death before my very eyes all over again. A Michigan McDonald's worker is charged with planning, then carrying out the fatal stabbing of her manager, who had sent her home early that day, according to police. Afeni Badu Mohammed, 26, of East Point, Michigan, was arraigned last week on charges of first-degree premeditated murder and carrying a dangerous weapon with unlawful intent. It happened on Thursday, July 10th, according to prosecutors. Prosecutors allege Muhammad's manager, identified as Jennifer Harris, had sent Muhammad home before her shift was scheduled to end. Muhammad allegedly returned with a knife and wearing a mask. She came in through the employee entrance and stabbed Harris multiple times. A customer at the drive-thru window who was lawfully carrying a concealed weapon fired the gun in an attempt to stop Muhammad. When Muhammad fled in her vehicle, the customer followed her and held her at gunpoint until police arrived. Harris, 39, was a mother of 6 children and had worked at the restaurant for 15 years. Muhammad was arrested and charged accordingly.
This happened a few years ago, when me and my friends had a foolproof plan to score free drinks from McDonald's. We were driving around in my car, 3 guys fresh out of high school, bored, broke, and bolder than we were smart. I'll admit, the whole thing was my idea. I got us in line at the McDonald's drive-thru where we ordered 3 large cups of water, 1 for each of us. The worker on the speaker sounded confused and kept asking if that was all we really wanted. But we just complained about how hot it was. Then they eventually let us through with our drinks free of charge. I then got out of the drive-thru, parked in the first available spot. Then all 3 of us dumped the contents of our cups into the bushes. Next was the bold part of the plan. We entered the McDonald's on foot with our empty cups, walked right up to the soda fountain, and started filling up with our choice of soda. We acted confident, like we were paying customers coming back for refills. But I think we just couldn't hold back the smirks on our faces. The second we finished filling up our cups, a McDonald's worker confronted us. And not just any employee either, but a manager.
Excuse me, what do you think you're doing?
We're just getting refills. What does it look like?
Oh, so you're a bunch of smartasses, eh?
Dude, just leave us alone.
You didn't pay for those drinks. Dump them out immediately.
Or what?
Or I'll call the cops.
Dude, we paid $6-7.
Come on, dude. Give it up. You got us.
When they least expected it, I shoved my 2 idiot friends into the manager and bolted. I left those bozos behind and raced back to my car, jumping inside before locking the doors behind me. I looked around to make sure I wouldn't run into any cars when I backed out. But then I saw the manager chasing after me. He ran outside, went across the drive-thru lane without even looking, then slammed his fat body against the trunk of my car. There were cars parked on either side of me, and a curb followed right by a drainage ditch ahead of me, leaving me with nowhere to go while that asshole was blocking me in. So, I turned my car on and revved the engine. When that didn't get him to move, I threw it in reverse and laid into the horn. I knew he could see the reverse lights, and that I had my foot ready to come off the brake any second, but he still wouldn't get out of the way. I didn't know what else to do, so I rolled down my window and stuck my head out to try and talk some sense into him.
Dude, let it go. Do you really want to get run over for $6?
Come here, you little shit!
Suddenly, the maniac charged toward my face. I tried to close the window, but I couldn't get it shut in time. He got one arm through and grabbed my neck, even as the window was jamming into his wrist. He was even trying to break through with his other arm.
You're not going anywhere, bitch!
Jesus Christ, you're McCrazy!
With no other choice, I floored it. As the car flew back, I cut the wheel as hard as possible and flung that freak off the door. I looked back in the mirror and watched him flip and tumble across the asphalt, thinking I had to have just broken his neck or something. But then he did the most insane shit ever. He got back up. Before I could even comprehend it, he ran in front of me and blocked my car again. This time, he stood in front of the hood, his arms out like he thought he could stop 2 tons of metal. Neither of us said anything. We just stared, daring the other to make their next move. I knew he wasn't going anywhere, not after what had just happened. He was banking on me bitching out, but there was no way I was going to do that now. It was too late and I panicked. Without warning, I slammed the gas pedal. I plowed straight through him. He rolled over the hood, cracked the windshield, and went flying over the roof of my car. I didn't stop and didn't think. The coast was finally clear, so I got on the road and I fled. I thought I had pulled it off. I thought I'd gotten away with everything, but the reality slowly set in. I got caught stealing. Then I ran a man over with my car, twice. I'd even left my friends behind, and I knew they would sell me out in an instant to save their own asses. Panicking again, I thought if I ditched my car at some random place I would never normally go to, like the local bowling alley, then hide out at a relative's house, I could wait for the whole thing to blow over. Well, that is not what happened. The police came knocking at the door just a day later, and I decided it was time to stop running. After getting arrested, I'm being tried for felony theft as an adult, which might sound stupid, but it feels weird, having only been an adult for a few months. And look at that, I already screwed up my life over the stupidest shit imaginable. In April 2016, an 18-year-old man from Arkansas, Cody Morris, was arrested and is facing felony robbery charges following a bold incident at a McDonald's drive-thru. According to police, Morris and two friends ordered 3 large cups of water but filled them with soda instead. When confronted by staff, Morris attempted to flee, striking an employee with his car during the chaotic escape. Police noted that the situation escalated from petty theft to robbery due to Morris's use of force while trying to leave. Authorities later found his vehicle at a nearby bowling alley, where he was arrested and released after posting a $2,500 bond. This case highlights how a minor act of deceit like swapping water for soda, which can quickly escalate and lead to significant legal repercussions.
This happened about 2 years ago when the Grimace Shake was a big thing. There happened to be a McDonald's down the street from my school, where everyone hangs out after. One day, during the peak of the craze around the Grimace Shake, I went to McDonald's after school. Then I went home, did my homework, and eventually got ready for bed. But right as I was about to pass out, I got a notification. Unfortunately, I'm the type of person that can't sleep without checking everything on my phone. So I looked to see what it was. It was a random guy that had just added me on Snapchat. I added him back to see where it would lead, and soon enough, he started messaging me. Apparently, this guy I had never met went to my school and had a crush on me. Despite the fact I didn't even know he existed, he found my Snapchat through other people so he could shoot his shot. Feeling curious, I told him to send a picture of his face. I had to admit, he was actually kinda cute. When I asked what classes he was taking to see if we had any in common, he gave me his entire schedule, though nothing overlapped. We didn't even have the same lunch, so I suggested we meet at McDonald's, but then he left me on read. There was no way I was going to double text, so I put my phone down and went to sleep for the night. At school, this random guy was on the back of my mind the whole day. I kept checking my phone during class, but it seemed like he had ghosted me. Then, a few days later, just before heading to bed, I got a message on Snapchat. It was that guy again. The text was him apologizing for not replying and suggesting we meet somewhere less crowded than McDonald's. This situation was bizarre, considering he was still a stranger, but I stupidly gave him the benefit of the doubt. The guy then texted his alternative spot to McDonald's, saying, "My house?" Obviously, I said no to that, which led him to asking if he could come over to my place instead. I told him that was going way too fast, and I didn't want him to have my address yet, but he wouldn't budge on McDonald's, so the conversation died for the night. The next day, he texted me as I was once again on the verge of sleep. He had a new place for us to meet, which was a park near the McDonald's. It would have seemed like a decent compromise, but I had already convinced myself that this guy was either a catfish or had no interest in anything other than sleeping with me. Stupidly, I gave him a chance. He bribed me with a free Grimace meal, so I agreed. The next day, I left school, headed towards McDonald's, then walked past it into the park across the street.
There was a small open area around a pond at the entrance, so I stopped and told the guy I was there. He said he had gone down the trail that led into the woods, asking me to meet him there. I didn't want to, but at the time I was naive and stupid. Plus the sun was getting low, so I went before it got too dark. I kept asking where he was, and he kept saying stuff like, just a little farther, just a bit deeper in. Finally, he told me to stop. I was taken back as the guy was clearly watching me.
What the? Hey, what are you wearing?
It's so nice to finally meet you in person. I brought these for you.
No thanks. I changed my mind.
You mean you don't want my shake?
No, just stay away from me.
Take it! Take it all! Of course it was all a trap. I broke free at the last second. Then I ran out of the forest. Not knowing if he would follow me home, I took shelter inside McDonald's and called the cops. They almost didn't believe that there was really a man in a grimace costume hiding in the woods. But obviously, the big purple piece of shit wasn't hard to find. Turns out he wasn't a student at my school at all. He was the principal. He used his access to information on all the students to trick me with the photos of an innocent student in my grade. Following his arrest, the principal was fired and replaced, but nothing at this school will ever be the same again. I will never be the same. Former middle school principal Daniel Erickson pleaded guilty to luring a student. The crime stems from an investigation into which Erickson engaged in very explicit conversations with a younger female on Snapchat. The incident occurred between June 28th and July 7th, 2023. Erickson was arrested when he agreed to meet the student at a remote location to do stuff with her. Police say that Erickson brought a grimace shake and chicken nuggets from McDonald's, as well as protection with him. Deputies then arrested him. Prior to his arrest, it was alleged that Erickson had made multiple attempts to meet the female. He even tried to meet her at home, but the female would not come out and meet him. He posed as a young adult on Snapchat and used his position as the middle school principal and used database information from the district to convince her who he was, police say. Erickson has since resigned and was sentenced accordingly.